And get perfect. Looks like we have a couple people funneling in.
Glad to have them. Will I be able to hear all of them?
No, it'll be we'll have them throw in some chats and Q&A, but for the most part, they're just gonna be listening today, and then maybe at the end we'll probably have some time to answer some Q&A.
Okay.
But you make it up to North Carolina very often, or?
I don't. Closest I've been was South Carolina.
Okay.
Wilkesboro.
Yep.
I'm trying to think of the golf course. Starts with a C. Gosh, dog it. It was right on the tip of my tongue. I'll think of it here in a minute.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what a great golf course. That was I knew a couple of guys here that connections to there, and one of the guys is a member there, but you have to be kind of invited to be a member.
Okay. Is it Congaree? Is that ring a bell?
Yeah, Congaree Golf Course.
Was that it?
Yeah,
Yeah. I
and
haven't been there. I've heard incredible things about it. I think I want to say they have some kind of event for the tour, couple of player. I don't know if it's some kind of event like that, but smaller.
yeah, it's a tour. They bring tour players in, and then they bring kids from all over. And they have donated clubs for them. They do everything for them. They stay there a week. It's fantastic. But the golf course is incredible. I got to play there for 4 days straight, and we got to
Wow.
stay in cottages there. They had fishing there, and I mean, we just did something all day. And when I got back, I was ready for a vacation. But it was
That's
fantastic.
fun.
It was just as fast as what I saw in Pinehurst.
Wow.
It was that fast. Everything was fast. Uh, you had to pretty much pick your shots because when you hit a drive, it could roll out 50 yards into the rough. So you had to be very careful with where you place things. So,
I've
but it
heard
was, I'd love to go back.
very cool. Yeah, I've heard amazing things about it. Hopefully, shouldn't be too far for where I am, but maybe one day.
Yeah.
All right. We'll go and get started. We've got some folks popping in here today in our webinar. We got a special webinar today and a special guest. Looking forward to hearing from Tony Allen. Go into a little bit of his background here in a moment. But before we get started, I did want to just go over a couple of quick items. If you do have any questions for Tony or myself throughout the call, we do have a Q&A feature within Zoom. You can pull that up, throw in a question there, and we will do our best to address them. I'll pull them up and ask Tony either throughout the webinar. We'll also carve out some time at the very end. The goal today is to wrap up by 2 p.m. Eastern time. I know we have some folks all around the country hopping on, but we definitely want to be aware and cognizant of everybody's time here. And I appreciate everybody, carving out some time to be here for this. But and with that being said, we'll go ahead and get started. But also, for those that I haven't spoken with that's on the call, my name is Michael Brooks. I'm a program advisor here with Operation 36. And my role is to really just talk to coaches and help them either and support them throughout their programs. I was fortunate to work with Tony when he got started with Op 36, and we chit chat from time to time. But happy to answer any questions following our webinar today. If you have questions on Operation 36, or if you're currently running the program, well, happy to answer any questions you have there. If you're newer to the program, you're not a licensed coach, we do have a full sales and support team. We'll be happy to answer questions as well. This call is recorded, so if you have to cut out a little early for a lesson or anything like that, we'll make sure to send out a copy, or you can email us and we'll make sure we get that copy over to you, and go from there. So with that being said, I'd like to go ahead and formally introduce our guest. This is Tony Allen. He's PGA professional out of Katy, Texas, at a club, Meadowbrook Farms Golf Club. Tony has been working with Operation 36 for 6 years now. He's got a lot of experience running and coaching both juniors and adults. We're going to tap into a little bit more about the adult side, but also we'll touch on some of the juniors. I'm sure he's got some neat stories from the juniors that he's introduced to the game of golf through Op 36. And another big honor that I'd like to recognize Tony is he is one of our Op 36 master coaches. And what that means is he's developed and run a program at a high level for at least 3 years, and to become a master coach, you have to earn top 50 honors. So there's 50 coaches every year that are selected as a top 50 coach. So you have to earn that honor 3 years. Once you earn top 53 times, you're elected into the master coach status. And so don't take that lightly. We're very pleased and honored to have Tony in our network of coaches. He's got a lot of wisdom and a lot of experience coaching both juniors and adults, and we're excited to hear from him. And lastly, this past year, a very high honor, the 2023 Harvey Penick Teacher of the Year. So congrats, Tony. That's a huge honor. I'm sure that's something you've had on your bulletin board there to try to reach one day. So congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. That was a great honor to have, and very exciting time because you know, when I was told about the award, I almost fell over, but yeah, it was a really high honor, and enjoying every bit of this year because it just puts a whole new perspective on what you do.
100%. Very cool. Perfect. So we'll go ahead and get into a couple questions today. And again, keep this fairly casual. If you have questions, please bring it up in the Q&A to Tony or myself, and we'll address them as we go. But we just the goal today is for anybody on the call to take away maybe 1 or 2 nuggets from today. If you think of it after, or if you have a question after the call, please reach out. But that's the goal for today. And again, there's some folks on the call that are running Op 36, some that are new to it. So if you have Op 36 related questions, I'm happy to do my best to answer those. Or if you have a specific question for Tony, we'll make sure we address those as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. Tony, if you don't mind, maybe just kicking it off by just explaining a little bit about your coaching background, maybe when you got started, and then what eventually led you to Op 36.
Yeah, so I know I wanted to become a PGA professional for a long time, and I didn't do that for many years. I got started late, became a PGA professional in 2007, finally got the program done. So I wanted that profession as long as I can remember. And I started off at a local club here, a little private or public club, and did a few little things teaching wise back in 1999. And then in 2000, when I went to a place called Ravenna Country Club, which is here in Spring, it was a full private membership, had everything I needed to get developed through the program as well. But the first day I was there, my head pro had a lady come in, and he basically said, you need to go give her a lesson. And when I did that, everything worked out great. You know, I mean, when you're brand new to lessons, you don't really know what you're doing. And gave that lesson. I loved it because it was just, I finally figured out really what I wanted to do as a professional, and just kind of worked my way through it. And that's kind of how I got started in teaching. And by the time I left Ravenna Country Club, I probably was teaching every week at least 50 or more members. I was probably doubling up my time at Ravenna Country Club. If I spent 50 hours doing my first assistant job, I was spending 40 to 45 hours teaching as well. So I was there 6 days a week doing it was all day. So when I got my start at Meadowbrook Farms, I started there as a head pro. That was my first head pro job. And that was, I was head pro there I was a first assistant at Ravenna Country Club for 6.5 years, and then got my head pro job at Meadowbrook Farms and was there 7 years. Started there in 2006. Matter of fact, I started on my daughter's birthday on 12/12/2006. and I worked as a head professional for 7 years. And same thing as Ravenel. Matter of fact, I had many students drive from Spring to Katy. If you don't know that length, it's probably about 50 miles in between each other. And I had about 30 students driving that distance every week to have their lessons. But over a period of 7 years, I had built up my teaching business as much or more than I did at Ravenel Country Club. And my GM one day just came out and said, you know, you just need to go teach and let my assistant be a head pro, and you just do your thing, because he knew that that was a value to the club. And I was a little apprehensive because, you know, when you first do that, obviously, one, you're contracted, and if you don't give a lesson, you don't make any money, right?
Sure.
So anyway, business went on, and I started my own teaching business. And after about 6 months, my wife said, "Why don't you do this sooner?" But anyway, I got into just private lessons all the time, and I was teaching probably 10 to 12 one-on-one lessons every single day for probably about 3 years. And that's, if anybody teaches for a long time, they know that's a very taxing job, standing on your feet out in the hot sun all day long kind of thing. But I wanted more, and I made a after school junior program, and I ran that for about 2 years. But it didn't have any substance to it, didn't have any engagement to it, to where students really needed to learn what we wanted them to learn, like just a basic grip and posture, and you know, what do they need to do on a day-to-day basis to get better and consistently better. And they would literally go home and just put the clubs in the closet, right? Because you all know your students that do that. And they would only touch their golf clubs when they come to class. So one day I was just searching, and you guys had put out an ad on Facebook, and I was like, So I just said, well, let me look this up. And I read all the data, and I saw all the information, and I said, you know what, this is something I really want to do, I think. And so I called you, I believe, and we talked about it. And it took me literally 3 days to get my first 3 classes going. It didn't take long at all, because I knew everybody at the club, right? And when I sent that email out, it was bam, it was done. So I didn't have to advertise a lot. But when I started that program, I knew that was the thing I was missing, because now they had something each week, very easy to understand. They weren't overwhelmed. And it was something that grew into, well, my program now has 9 classes of 8 each week during the school year only. I get to take off during the summer. And that's only because my club does their own junior camps in the summer, and they don't want a competing force. So this is kind of my time off. So it really works out well doing it that way. And it's starred on other programs through InOps, which has really helped my program expand, so to speak. So that's kind of a little bit about me, and you know, where I've come from and how far I've gone in a, you know, relatively short time in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's grown. It's still growing.
Very cool. And do you run any other type programs other than Op 36, or do you have any like PGA Junior League weather programs or clinics? Do you typical like any weekly clinics, or are you specifically group instruction, private lessons?
Yep, group instruction with ops and private lessons only, and that's about all the time I have.
Okay, very cool.
Where I've structured it, and the time allotted each day that I'm there, you know, my Operation 36 programs take up probably 40% of my time. And for those of you who are not in this program yet and are wondering how it works for you, is If I did not do one private one-on-one lessons, it would sustain my income each year. So if it rained every year and all I did was ops and I did not do a one-on-one program, I'd make more in a year than I did teaching and head professional. How about that?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty, yeah, group coaching. It's interesting. It's, once you get going down that route and you start to see like at 1 hour, 8 students or so, and they go tell
Well,
their friends, yeah.
yeah. I mean, are you going to make $100 an hour?
Yep.
Make $350 an hour,
Right.
right? It
Yep.
makes sense. And your time is much, much more spent wisely than just running around in a circus, right? Doing one-on-ones is great. Love it. Uh, many of my students have gone on to D1 colleges and some have turned pro and all that good stuff. Well, that's great. But to actually get the masses on my juniors and adults and women and stuff like that, I'm my message is heard more by a group program, and that's what I like more. The money comes. I mean, the money's there, but just getting your message out to more people at one time is a value to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had success fairly early on with juniors to start, right? You started with juniors. Okay. And you grew that to what? How many roughly juniors did you have in the first couple of years?
Well, I kind of grew it faster than my club could handle. And this is for those who may start this program to understand how rapidly it grows with juniors. I started with 21, I think 21 or 24 students my first semester. My next semester was about 33 or so. And then within my 6th or 7th semester, I had 80. Now, for the club I'm at, which is only 18 holes, semi-private facility, and doing matches, 80 was an overload for the time that I was doing it. Okay. In other words, my staff in the golf club was not prepared for the amount of students I had coming in and out. And you have to kind of, I think, as your program grows a little at a time, I think your staff in the club grows as well. They know who you are, what you do, what time you have your classes, when your matches are, how's that going to be performed, and your club kind of grows around you at that point, right? So I grew to a point where it was like, stop. What are we doing? How are we doing your program? What has it been? How is it beneficial to your club as well as you? And since your contract, it's kind of one of those things where it's a sticky situation where you're a contract labor person, you do your job there, so you can't overtake what they do at the club. So you have to have time and certain things that running your matches and time on the range and that kind of thing. So what we did is we really made a kind of a formal format with the club and myself to get my classes done, my matches done. How is the outside operations going to help me with my program and busing my kids and the balls that I need and the space I need. And I'm lucky because I have my back of the range is where my teaching facility is. And I have one of those dry range big canopies in the back that I teach under. And the whole back has a bunker, and it has the nursery putting green that we use, in a big space of tee box that we use. So my programs have a place to be all the time without interfering with normal play. Okay. So, and then my head pro just basically gives me the times like 4 to 6 times on Saturday and Sunday. each Saturday and Sunday of my semester to fill up. So I fill those tee times up with my students each week to do their matches. And this is not part of ops, but it's something I recommend to each of my students, or I kind of demand it in a way. I want my juniors to play two matches per 8 weeks. And if they can't do that, we need to discuss why or how.
Okay.
And it's necessary, because if they're not playing matches, they're not growing in my program. So that's kind of how it is.
Yeah, no, it's a huge thing. Did you have any discussions? I mean, you've seen and operated the club as a head pro. You've seen how busy it can get and everything. Did you have discussions with the head pro ahead of time to say, hey, like, if you want this to work, they're going to have to get out on the course, or the GM or whoever that was? Because I know that's always a tough conversation, I think, with pros these days when they run that are looking into the program too, is like, my course is packed. Like, how am I going to be able to do this? Like, how did you, I know it might have been a little bit different 6 years ago, but or if you were to go into it today, how would you maybe approach that or have that conversation with that, and with the timing of it too? Like early on, that's probably important too. Hey, if we want this to be successful, we have to get them on the course in minimum of once a month or twice a month. Yeah.
Right. And yeah, so that was a big thing with me, because I was doing it at first. I talked to my head pro first about getting him on the golf course, and he gave me late evening tee times at first. And then when it grew, he suggested that we do a shotgun. Okay. So I would set out all my markers. We would do a shotgun start, and they got to a point where I had 3 groups on not every hole for 9 holes. Oh my God. That took like 2.5 hours to do a match. And that was every weekend, every Saturday. And it was like, but the thing of it is that sparked on more juniors wanting to become in or get into the program, because they were like, hey, they're playing golf every week, and I want to be a part of that. And so that got jumbled up probably around my 3rd year, because it got so big, it was interfering with normal tee times, right? For the amount I was charging. So if anybody has questions about charging, I charge my students $35 for a match, and that includes their green fee and cart. And the cart's for the parent. The junior doesn't get charged a cart, the parent does. If they're members, they don't get charged anything. So it's $35, and I get like I said, 5 to 7 tee times every Saturday and Sunday. And the club gets together and chooses the week times on the weekend, and those are the tee times I get. So I'm not interfering with their busiest tee times. Okay. And I think that's true for any club, whether it's private, semi-private, or daily fee. It doesn't really matter. There's always a weak point in your tee times where we can fill it up with tee times, and it's a benefit for the club, right? Because we're giving them income that they would not normally have in that time. Okay. So that's how we go about it.
Very cool. Yeah, no, that's very helpful to know. I know that's a very common question, especially the last 4 years. That's probably the #1 challenge pros around the country deal with is tee time usage. But
absolutely,
no, good problem to have. So okay, so let's kind of fast forward a little bit. You started off, and then now, let's say within the last year or two, I believe, junior program became really successful. And I'm sure you probably got some questions maybe from some parents and maybe thinking about doing adults. What did that look like, that time? Run me through that timeline and maybe how that conversation started.
So as my program got bigger and it was more successful, and we had a very good sequence of events throughout each semester, to where all my kids were going through the program, they were getting their badges all done, and there was always, I would say, about 50% of my students that wouldn't proceed as fast as I thought they would. now everybody goes along our program at their own pace. But for a lot of my students, they're the way, I guess, the way I teach it, they progress through the first, second, and third levels pretty quickly. And that means that they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing as far as learning the information, understanding the information, and practicing the information, and using it on their matches. Okay. And if they do that, they progress pretty fast. But I noticed that there was about 40 to 50% of my young students that weren't progressing as fast as I thought they should have been. So I actually started, after each session in my program, I would have the parents in a certain location by the clubhouse, because I do not allow parents back in my sessions. Okay. And that's very important, because your parents are going to get involved in your session, and it's going to take up time. The other thing is your students going to be watching their parents, everything they do, and they're going to be taking pictures and all that stuff. And it's just interfering. I only have 1 hour to teach their student. And if their parents are there, it's not good. And some of your parents may get a little upset at first, but you need to have them understand that it's your time with their student, and you're teaching the student. They're not teaching the student. Okay. But what I did was I had all the parents get to a spot by the putting green by the club. And when I brought all the kids in, I would get with the parents as a whole. And if I needed one-on-one time, that would be after. But I would talk about what we covered today, how I needed the parents to help, and that's it, nothing else. Please don't add your twist to it, because I need my message heard. And I needed the parents to help. So if I did that, a lot of my parents didn't play golf. So I started having parents watch the videos. And through helping my students, parents wanted to become involved, not in their students' stuff, but for their own sake. So guess what? So I said, well, let's have an adult program so you guys can learn what they're learning. And that way y'all can cooperate at home and have a nice session at home to understand the information that you learned. And so at first I had about 8 parents in my adult class. And it was kind of a 50-50 mix, men and women. And so my adult class now is at least 2 classes, if not 3 per semester. And I have 5 semesters of adult classes all year. It's all year, by the way. And how that came about that way was, once the parents understood what the kids were learning, my kids actually started advancing faster, because now the family is involved. And now the husband or wife that didn't play, they got involved. So now it became a family event. So now my parents and kids can play their matches together if they want. But I try to group in my matches parents and juniors, but some juniors want to play with their parents, and that's perfectly fine with me. They're all on their same level, right? So I may have some kids back at 150 yards and the parents at 25 yards. And the junior is now helping their parents through the program, which is a pretty awesome thing to have. When you got a 9-year-old teaching his dad how to grip a golf club, is pretty awesome to see, right? So that's how my adult program got started. And then I had quite a few ladies that wanted their own program. Some ladies are embarrassed in front of men to play golf. So I said, well, let's start a ladies program. And, I had like 3 or 4, I think it was 3. And I said, I'd love to have a ladies program, but I'm going to have 5 at least in a class to do an hour class. Well, I had 7. So, and I'm telling you, if you're ever afraid of having ladies classes, don't. It is the funnest thing you'll ever do in your life. those ladies have so much fun, and they do not mind shanking a golf ball in front of each other, and they all giggle and laugh because of it, and they have a ball. So because no men are present other than myself, which I can care less how they hit a golf ball, I just want them to learn all the fundamentals, right? So the ladies put a whole new twist on an adult program. I mean, the fun we have with not only our class but our our little events and contests that we have, and when ladies start playing from 25 yards, they are hooked. I mean, the 7 that I started with, 4 of them had old clubs from their husbands, and the other didn't have clubs. So I got my rental sets. I made that okay through the Hit Pro for that hour. And now all of them are, now that the program ended last week, they're still playing their matches, and all of them have new sets of golf clubs. All of them. And now they're hooked. Now they're out there every week practicing and playing. And guess who they're playing with? They're playing from the social network of the class. So now they're all golf buddies. And that in itself makes the program work.
That's very cool. I think, kind of thinking back to how that all started, is just showing how much you truly care. Like, you want these parents to be aware of what's going on in class, and carving out 5 minutes, that's all, 5-10 minutes afterwards. And did you do this just at the beginning part of the semester, or was this all throughout the entire, like every class, or was it?
Well, once I figured out that something was missing,
Yeah.
What information was missing to the parent that was going to help me with with the young students. Once I figured that out, it was I tried to do that whatever parents want to stay and listen.
Yeah.
You have other kids and they have to go swimming or whatever, and they have to go.
Sure.
But the ones who want to stay, I have that every week.
That's great. I mean, you're building so much trust. A new family signs up, they join you, and they get that the day one. Like, that's fantastic. And they're going to trust you. They're going to sign up themselves. Like, that's just that
Right.
5-10 minutes. Like, so that was a good on you to make that decision and do that. I'm sure that really helped.
Right. So with the junior program and now with the adults, here's what's changed with the attitude of my head pro and GM. Director of golf as well. Here's what's changed is that out of my program, I have at least every semester 3 families joining as members. At least, some or more. So if you're going to build your membership and have a family that's going to be using your facilities every week and grow that family into golf, you have a gym. And guess what? They're going to want other families to play with. So guess where they're going to start? They're going to say, hey, Tony has this program. This is where we're going to start it. And that's how it grows. I have 8 to 10 new students every semester without even advertising. The word of mouth alone, I'm already getting emails for my August session that starts back when school starts. I've already got 8 emails ready to go, and I've got them already pre-signed up into Operation 36. So when the email goes out to sign up, guess what? We're going to sign them up. So that happens just about every week that somebody wants to get involved. So that's a bonus for your club. Even if you're not a private membership or semi-membership, just using the facilities is a benefit to your club.
Yeah, 100%.
Or whatever. Okay.
And do you structure? Do you do semesters? I guess, let me back up. Are the structure for juniors and adults, are they the same? They follow the same model? Like, are they 8-week semester, 10 weeks, or how do they vary it at all?
Every every semester for every program is 8 weeks long.
Okay.
I don't change that format. It works for me. It works for them. And the juniors, yes, I use skill point chips. Yes, I use the bag tags, the starter kits, where they earn badges. The parents, and I've only had 2 parents wanting the bag tag and the badges that they want to earn, which is pretty cool. I think it's pretty neat. But most parents don't really want that. But I structure the adult program around Operation 36, but not like I may use putting. I'll use putting as itself, but I'll do grip and posture all in the same day.
Sure.
Does that make sense? Because they can handle more information than kids can.
Yep.
Right. So I may cover grip, posture, and then I'll go back in review on my adults every class. I'll go and review for 5 minutes what we did last class, and then I will check the grip and the posture, see if they've got it right, and then I'll go into alignment and takeaway or alignment, and the pre-swing stuff, and it falls right in line with what Ops has in their program, but in such a different way that the parents don't feel like they're being talked down to.
Sure.
Right? We're not talking to them as kids. We're talking to them as new students. And sometimes adults need more information, even though they can't handle it. Right? And we speak of this all the time. Every semester that I have a parent come back to my class, they hear something different, even though I'm saying the same message, right? And they said, well, you didn't say that last semester. I said, yeah, I did. I said that about 7 times throughout the whole semester. You just didn't hear it because other information's coming in, right? And you can only grasp 1 or 2 things at a time. And sometimes it gets a little bit too much for them, but it makes sense because every time they pick up something new, they get a little better. So they'll see the adult that's had 5 or 6 semesters and they're way better. And I'm like, well, you know what? Jim was just like you. He couldn't hit a ball either. Now he can. I said, but he's just been progressively getting better through the program. So that's how my programs differ, as far as they don't differ in length. They differ in structure slightly. And I've structured my ladies a little less information and more hands-on.
Yep.
And a lot more fun and a lot more energetic style type teaching, and they love it. They soak it up, right? I mean, Jude, if we had little treats and wine out there, we would just have a little party.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I go about it.
No, that's really good. I think sometimes, and you've been at this for 6 years now, and you just gave some ideas and tips of how to keep it engaging year after year. And I think, at least from my experience, a little bit coaching too, is that when I was first getting started and doing these 8-week programs, 8-week program, I felt like I had to completely reinvent this game and activity wheel every semester. What did you find did you find that, having some repetition is actually a good thing, or did you find that you needed to have a lot of different games, or was it for the most part you just add little pieces here and there? What did you find to be a nice you want to give something kind of newer, but at the same time you want to let them know that, hey, this is a game, you got to keep doing the same similar activities and drills?
Yeah, so that's true. It seems like now that's our own perception of things.
Yeah.
Not the perception of things. Where there are some games and contests, they don't care how many times they do it, they love it, right? Yeah. And you find those. And there's some games they're like, no, that's either too hard, or I don't understand it, or I can't do it, right? So I thought, just like you, I had to reinvent that wheel all the time on each semester, but I didn't. I picked the contests and drills that met the requirement of what I'm trying to teach them that week. And what they found out, they got better at the contests and drills as they went on, and they enjoyed it. So I didn't have to reinvent the wheel, and it made it easier for me because I started understanding I could teach it better a certain different way, right? Whether that's the what do we call it, ER on putting, right? We do that in many different ways. We change it up. We change up groups. We change up partners. We do it individually. We have different distances. We change that particular contest up many different ways. We play in green reading, we play tic-tac-toe, but I put it on a green where they actually have to put it in that square from a certain angle, and they have to get the speed and the control right to put it in that spot, right? So I change up just tic-tac-toe putting into something they learned that day, right?
Yep.
I use fire escape a lot for my aiming stuff, right? Contact and aiming, but I'll change it up. I'll make my noodles either smaller or larger, but I'll make it more emphasis on the smaller one. Getting that one gets more, by their team gets an extra barn on fire if they get it through there, right? Because it's only like 1 foot, right?
Yeah.
So I took all the stuff, all the different programs or all the different contests to make it engaging, right? I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I just have to make it fun.
Yep.
That's all they're there for, is to make it fun and let them learn what they learn from that week. So I didn't have to reinvent the wheel. In my mind, I have like 15 to 20 contests that I do all the time, and I change it up each week, and they don't know what contests they're going to get.
Yep.
Right. But it takes time to learn each contest. Like if you do a contest, you go, you know what, setup wise and doing the contest and tear down, that one's for me, because I don't have a lot of time in between my class and my next private lesson, right? Or I can do this one this week, and this will help them this week. And you kind of have to do them to understand what you can use and what you don't want to use, right?
100%.
So I've kind of got my brain wrapped around certain ones that I do all the time, and that's what I kind of stick with because it works for me, right? So, but your students will never get bored of the game if you just do the same game and switch it up on them. They enjoy it after a while.
I think that's so key, having, like you said, that starting out maybe 3, 4, 5 games in your back pocket that you can just whip out and know. And the more you play it, the more you can come up with variations, and you get more creative. And then you just start coming up, and then you bring in the students to have them create a variation. And so that's been the biggest thing that helped me. But I just get that question all the time, is like, what new games do you got? And we do try to push out as many games as we can. We're working on that. But also, when you grasp onto something, an environment that works well, like you said you had, just varying it a little bit and bringing in the students to change it up. It's really cool to see kind of how, they still like to play the same game and come back for it. But
and don't forget, coaches, that you can talk to your juniors and they will tell you what they want.
yeah.
Right? They'll tell you how the game could change with their likeness, what they like to see. And if you can make it happen, because then they're excited, right? So I asked the students, hey, if we play this game again, what would you like to do? And they would tell me, and I would change it up a little bit and see how it works, right? Just throw it out there. Right? They're always going to have fun doing a game. If they're winning skill point chips, trust me, they don't care what game it is. That skill point chip is a value to them. So if you're not using skill point chips, I wouldn't run my program without them. It's a value to your students. and I'm talking juniors. I don't do the skill point chips with my adults because it's not in a value for them. But skill point chips is a true value to each class that you do, because earning a skill point chips makes them feel that they accomplished something. So there's not one student that leaves a class that does not receive at least a orange 1-point skill point chip. Okay. Some earn 5 for doing better or winning a contest or whatever, but they cherish those skill point chips because let's say the one who give you an example, the one who practiced the most in that class from that week, from week to week, earns a skill point chip, right? So if you look on your reports and Carolyn has practiced 4.5 hours more than anybody else, or just practice more than anybody else, they get a skill point chip. So they've already earned one before they even come to class, right? Whoever helps me pick up my contests for me and helps me load it all back in gets a skill point chip. Everybody that's involved gets a skill point chip. Okay, if they want to help, they get a skill point chip. So they end up, hey, coach, are we ready to pick up yet? Now I don't even have to pick up my own stuff. The kids know exactly what to do now every single time, which is awesome. I don't have to do it.
Yeah, it's tough to be that tangible reward, especially that nervous junior 8-year-old is coming to their very first golf lesson and they walk away with something tangible they can take home, put on their desk, and make a pile up and collect those chips. That's, for those that are unsure of what Tony's referring to, the skill point chips. They're they're just little poker chips. When we do sell them in our Op 36 store. Happy to answer more questions on them, but they're a pretty neat tool to use for little extrinsic motivation, but hopefully to eventually intrinsically motivate them in the game of golf. But you need to just give them a little bit of a boost, and you're rewarding good behavior in class. You're rewarding, little contests, as Tony said. So if you're unfamiliar or looking to do something new this year or in the fall, I'd highly recommend looking into that. And Tony will go here in a little bit and talk a little bit about what he does at the end of the year for programs. But
yeah, that's special.
yeah, we'll get back to that. I'm not going to forget that one, but let's kind of shift gears into the playing component a little bit with adults. I know at first when you started with your adults, did you have any pushback at all from starting about from 25 yards, or was it all just beginners that are fairly open-minded, or have you had any pushback at all from any adults to do the yardages?
I'm going to say not only did I not have any pushback, they were relieved to
Okay.
know 5 yards from the hole.
That's
Look, they were actually worried that they were going to start back at the tee box. Okay. Even though they read the program, they didn't have a concept of what it meant to go through the program on matches correctly. I'm telling you, they were all feared of playing a match because they thought, well, I don't even know what a driver is, and you're going to expect me to hit a driver, right? So as I talk to them now, I talk to them about matches pre-semester. So, some have their orientations. Well, I do a small orientation. So I have a 30-minute time frame that all my adults attend prior to their first session in ops. So instead of making an hour thing prior to the session starting, I make a 30-minute session prior to their first semester, and I cover everything they're going to learn. What are matches? How are they performed? How to score it? What to expect? Because it's going to be so nerve-wracking for them the first time. But I will never pair a new student with another new student. Okay? I will always pair my 50-yard people with my 25-yard people. Okay? If they're all 25 yards, I will never pair that new person from 25 yards with somebody who's been through my 2 semesters from 25 yards. They just started out and they still haven't accomplished it, but they've shot 37, 38, about, right? So are always with somebody who understands how to play the match. Okay. The whole thing is, and you got to get them comfortable with that. You got to get them comfortable knowing that they started where you start. You're probably going to shoot 50 or 60 the first time from 25 yards out. We fully expect it. So don't think you're supposed to, don't think that we're expecting you to shoot 36 the first time. Please, it's going to take you 8 matches to pass that first match. And that's kind of my general rule. It's 6 to 8 matches on the first one, and probably 10 to 12 on my 50 yards. And then it's about the same on my 100 yards for me. Sometimes earlier. If I can get them putting, chipping, and pitching faster, then the 100 yards doesn't take too long. But I lay out the whole thing semester wise. So now when they go into class, they have a very much calmer demeanor and they have much more fun. Okay. So they know what to expect. And as long as adults know what to expect, let's go have fun. Let's go. Okay.
That's unbelievably important. I can't stress how much, like, there's one thing I wish I knew going into when I first started coaching the program is the expectations. You know, going into it, we know now because we've done it for years, but to be able to look at a parent or look at a student and say, hey, this might be the hardest thing you've ever done, but hey, there's kids and students all over the world. They're trying to do the same thing. And it's going to be tough at first. We're here to help you, but we're not expecting you to hit 36. We're not expecting you to do this from day one. It's going to take some time. Eventually, you might do it, but it's going to take a little bit of time, and that's normal. That's normal. There's no, but
if you put it to them like this, like, yes, as we learn your putting and chipping, that gives us plenty of time to learn your full swing. Gives you plenty of time to learn your full swing, but you can still play golf.
Right.
Take your time learning your golf swing. It's not the hardest part, by the way. I said, what you don't realize is we're learning the hardest part of the game first. And they don't understand that until they get into the golf swing. And all of a sudden, within 1 or 2 classes, they're already hitting the golf ball and they're going, yeah, you're right. This is not as hard as I thought it was. Because when you go through the putting, chipping, and pitching, they've learned a lot about their golf swing already. They've learned their grip, they've learned their posture, they've learned a lot of the takeaway stuff. They've learned how to control the face a little better. So guess what? They built most of their golf swing before they even start swinging. And they don't realize that until they get there. Yep. That they've learned a lot faster than most would.
100%. Hopefully they have some confidence from the chipping, from the experience, right? They get back there, they've got some.
Oh yeah. Pretty much.
Awesome. Okay. Well, you mentioned earlier, so you structure your programmings you kind of follow the school schedule or the spring and fall. You do for spring, juniors, and do you do the same with adults too, spring and a fall?
Well, I start off, so I think my first semester starts in August.
Okay. Got it.
My semester ends in May.
Okay.
The start of school year to end of school year. My adult program does not end at all.
Gotcha.
It continues throughout the whole thing. So my ladies do stop in the summer because most of my ladies don't like 100-degree weather.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
We have fried egg hot. Okay. So yeah. So ladies, some ladies can stand it, but most are like, no, I'm not going to do that. So most of my ladies are within that school year too. Okay. And like I said, this is kind of great because I get to take a summer off too. And I think in a way, now, why do I do that? I don't know if I said it earlier, that my club does their own junior camps in the summer. They don't want a competing force with my program and their program because they know fully well that my program is going to draw more people than their junior camp. Because a junior camp is 4 days long, 3 hours, 3 hours grueling in the heat versus 1 hour a week for 8 weeks. They would totally do that more. Okay. So they would they don't allow me to do the program, but like I said before, and I don't know if I said it earlier, but I have started a teen program that is revolved around my students 13 to 14 that are trying to become are trying to get on the school team, high school team. And how many coaches out there have that kid that 1 week prior to the tryouts says, I want to start playing, or the parent goes, he wants to start playing golf and he has no clubs and we're going to make the team here in a week. How many times have we said that, right? I mean, my special answer, I mean, it may be funny, but it's true, is if you have $10,000, we'll make it happen. And they step back and they go, what? And I said, I don't do miracles. I don't do miracles. It's just not going to happen. But this is a way this program is going to give them 8 weeks of fundamentals that they're going to need to get through the tryouts. Now, during the 8 weeks, guess what? They're going to learn putting, chipping, pitching. Yes, we're going to talk about their full swing and full swing driver because they have to get through that. But they're going to get playing experience on the golf course they've never done. And when they have to play that 9 holes in front of that coach to make the team, they're not going to feel out of place. They're going to feel more comfortable. So I built the teen program to take place of my little time that I have off to get that part of my teaching done. I don't want any surprises like you guys, like the guys who come in for a week and say, hey, I want to play golf. I don't want those surprises. So I send out e-blasts week after week through, because I have like 1,500 students on my Smarter Lessons program that I use. And then I have all the students on my ops program, and I just spam it. I just get it out there. And then I get a collective of all these students that want to do that program. And those are the ones I'm going to hear from anyway.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. So there you go. It started another class.
Yep. No, that's great. That's a great use of time. We got about 2 or 3 minutes left. I want to have a couple more questions. And again, if anybody has questions, please throw them in the Q&A for Tony. But a couple more things I had in mind I did want to bring up before we wrap up was how you elevate the experience for your golfers at the end of the year. You have a big, maybe a skill point chip store, but you do something else that's pretty unique and special to make that experience even better as folks start to head on their way.
Yeah. So we as ops and, and me learning how to do skill point chips and what's the reward at the end of so I pair my awards banquet at the end of each semester with a shopping party, right? So Five Below is my favorite store to go to. So I have about 6 6-foot tables of items that they can choose from. And they collect their skill point chips, right? So if anybody's never done that, so they earn their skill point chips and then they pay for a prize, purchase a prize that they really want at the end. And plus then after we go through pictures and awards for, whatever levels they passed and so on and so forth. So that was great. But after a while, what we find, or what I found, was that some students really got kind of bored at that program. They did it every week. My students that came to my classes 8, 6 semesters, it's like, I don't even want to go there. Just tell me what I want and I'm done. Whatever, right? I don't care. So I'm like, well, wait a minute. I got to change this up because that's not what it's supposed to be like. So remember I said my whole back of the range is my teaching area, and members are allowed back there, but for this, I have my head pro close it down for that afternoon. And what I do is I set up all my tables for my shopping party underneath my dry range teaching facility. And I put up all the stuff I normally put up. I have all the awards over here. And then for an hour and a half, I set up game day. And I have chipping cornhole contest. I have a 9-hole putting contest. I have a long putt contest. I have a chipping contest. I have a pitching contest. We have these big round nets, right? And I have 3 of them. And then I have a driving contest and anything else we can think of. The top 5 winners of that contest win a prize. Now, here's the catch. Parents get to be involved in those contests with the junior. So guess what? Now it's a family event. And I have to tell you, after a couple of those events, I said, you know, if I didn't care about how long we were back there, if I had beer in a barbecue pit, we'd be back there probably 6 or 7 hours. The parents stay on those contests like it's glue. Like all the kids are underneath my tent and the parents are still playing. And I'm like, guys, come on in, come on. You know, let's get off there. We got to do the awards, right? And I'm like, oh man, you know, like I don't care about the awards. I'll just keep doing this. Just have your award thing. So it has become a staple of my program. And just that alone, now I'm getting where I went down to maybe 30% being involved in my awards thing. Now I'm getting a 90% attendance on my awards parties because parents and students need to be at that awards party because I'm announcing what we're going to do next time, what who won what who did what on this semester and how beneficial that was. And for parents who do the parent ops, you know, my adult ops and the junior ops, oh my God, that was awesome because now the kid and the parent are competing against each other, right? So trust me, when that happens, when you have a student back at 150 yards and you have your parent at 25 yards, that parent's going to want to get better fast.
Yeah, that's great. That's a fun dinner conversation.
And using the skill point chips, yes, for the prizes, but the skill point chips for my juniors, and this is why they all get one, is they have to give me one orange skill point chip to play the contest. Because remember, the contest has a prize, right? So the top 5 winners get a prize. So they pay me that skill point chip to play the deal. So if their parents playing, guess what they have to give me? They have to give me 2. They have to give me point chips. So now it's more important to earn those skill point chips during contests and helping and doing their practice time and all that stuff during the sessions of your semester. So it's a beneficial thing.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, if you're on the call and you've never run an award banquet or anything to kind of wrap up or put a ribbon on the season, do it because that's going to be a memory that those parents and the students will never forget, and it's just going to leave a nice taste in their mouth. They're going to come back to do it again. So I know it takes a little bit of planning, a little bit of time, but I'm sure yeah.
And I'm lucky. My daughter just graduated from University of Houston, is into social media and stuff like that, like Amy is, right? And she does all my pictures and all my videos and all that stuff. So I have her come out during game day, and she's going to be doing pictures and stuff like that. So if there's special pictures of some kids that are really good, then I'll just send it to the parent. And they're just blown away because they're like, wow. I mean, it just shows their kid having fun and it's an experience they didn't have to take a picture of. So I send it to them. I don't, or just send it to them.
That's great. That's great. All right. Well, I'll just have one final question for you, Tony. Thanks everybody for hanging in. I know we're about 5 minutes over, but we'll wrap up here in a moment. But I guess we'll just end on is there any advice that you'd give for a coach who's looking to start a beginner program, but maybe a little reluctant because maybe they don't know how it will be received or just how to start? What would be, I guess, 1 or 2 things that you would maybe recommend?
Yeah. Obviously, if they're looking to do the program and they're a little apprehensive, they have students already that they teach. Trust me, once you get the word out there, everybody has a junior student that will want to be a golfer or want to try golf. And don't be hesitant to ask people, hey, do you know how many kids you have? I'll go, well, I got a daughter and a son. How old are they? How long does that take? It doesn't take that much. And you say, well, you know what? I'm going to start a program here pretty soon that's going to be right for them. One's 9 and one's 11. Perfect. They've never played golf. This is the program for them. We're going to have fun games. We're going to have this. and you talk about the program, and then they're going to wait for your email. You set that seed out there every single time, and I'm trusting when you send the email, you're going to be blown away. It's that fast. Okay. Second, if they're apprehensive about a class, organizing a class is not easy, right? Because they're kids. Kids are kids, right? So if you structure it the way that they have their own box, they have a position where they can't walk. This is their zone. They have to stay in that zone. Here's what you're going to teach them. Now, in my experience, what was overwhelming to me in this Operation 36 was all the badges, right? And the information that I had to give them for that badge, right? And put it into context for them. And I made a sheet with all my students and all their badges that they're at. So every class, when I had my orange level grip and my yellow level grip, I knew who was in those classes, and I would pull them out and teach their orange level, and then I'd pull the yellow out and teach their yellow level and the green or whatever. I would not. Now I don't have more than 2 badges in each class, so I've separated them enough. But at first, you're going to have some that are on orange, yellow, green, blue, and you're going to have to learn how to occupy that time frame to do all of it. Yep. But I see, and it told me what those kids are at, so I didn't have to look it up. I didn't have to memorize it. It was right there on my sheet, and I still have that sheet today. I don't do a class without it. It's just my sheet. It's what and I have all my badges and yellow, green, orange, whatever they're at what level, and that's how I do it. So it was a little bit more. I wasn't apprehensive about what I was going to teach because I knew it already. I saw it and I just taught it. Yeah. So at first you're just going to be teaching orange level. So it just gives you time as a coach to learn each level as you go, right? Because the next semester you're going to actually teach 1 or 2 yellows. And so now you're going to get in the yellow section. So now you watch all these videos and now you're going to teach that. And as you grow, you just learn them and you just do it, right? Yeah. Look at a video anymore. This is like, okay, there it is, right?
Yeah.
But that's part of their, what I was concerned about was teaching those levels and knowing the information. Because if I'm sitting there looking on my phone about the information, they're going, well, coach's not even prepared. Right. Sure. Right. So, and that happens. Don't worry about it. Make all the mistakes you can. Kids are very forgiving. They don't care. Yeah. They don't care. They just want to have fun, learn. Yep. Right. Yeah. So don't be apprehensive. If you want to do this program, I'm telling you right now, from the financial side to growing the program, it just comes easy. It's not hard at all. Once you get the word out, once the word of mouth gets out there in your community, they look for you. They look for you. You don't have to look for them, for you.
Okay. That's right. Well, thank you, Tony, so much for your time today. And those that are listening, thank you for taking time out of your day on this Monday, and warm in some areas. I know it's probably what, 90 degrees, 95 degrees in Texas, Tony?
Yeah, it's 97. It's okay.
97, not too bad. Smooth 97.
Yeah, but we're getting there.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you so much for giving some of your time today. And if folks want to get in touch with you, do you mind if they reach out? What's the best way to get in touch with you? Email or Facebook or what?
Email or text.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
If I don't get, I'm in a lesson, I'll call back. Okay. So any one-on-one they can.
Awesome. Sure. We'll make sure we'll follow up and maybe include Tony's email. And if he wants to get in touch, if you have questions after today, feel free to reach out to him. And as same goes for us at Op 36, anybody in the call, if you have questions, want to hop on a call about any of these topics or anything else, feel free to reach out to us. But yeah, anything else you can think of for right now, Tony?
No, just do it. Just don't do it. Yes, I know. Oh, it's a little expensive, but you gain that back the first semester and don't have to worry about it all year. And trust me, you'll never go back. Once you do it, you'll never go back, and you'll just grow. Yeah, some of your private lessons decrease, but you'll find out that making $350 an hour versus $100 an hour is much more productive
Yeah.
of your day.
Yeah. Very cool. Thanks,
Okay.
Tony. Guys, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.